Hello, awesome fans. This is Big Pete here.
And Carpet, yeah.
Have you watched Wonder Woman already?
Wonder Woman is now obviously the biggest movie in the world with 103 million in the first weekend. And can it sustain, the momentum?
Well, in Rotten Tomatoes, they give them over 93%. Well, we're here to debate about that. So let's start off with the director of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very big surprise to me that they allowed a unknown in a way almost, right? Patty Jenkins was only known for Monster, the movie that she did many years ago.
I've watched that. It was done in 2004.
Yeah, it was a good movie, but she hasn't really done anything major since, right?
Yeah.
And for her to be someone from who's really good in drama, and she was heavily involved in TV series production, and for her to have a high expectation on women, especially Wonder Woman, it was a big surprise. But I think the movie turned out relatively well.
Yeah, like for me, if it's for me, it would be like a lot of pressure because a lot of expectations for this movie. So it's also partly written by Zack Snyder, which he did the director for the BVS.
Yeah, in a way, it's a breath of fresh air. I think Zack Snyder, even though he's not involved in this movie, I think Patty Jenkins did still carry on some of his style of action, as we will talk about later in how the movie's action sequence were.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about women in movies.
Yeah.
Since we touched the issue about this is like the kind of the first superhero movie that is successfully made it to a big screen and the box office itself.
Yeah, I mean, if you really look into the history of film, there really isn't a lot of superhero movies or movies that's led by women that has hit the box office really well. I mean, the superhero movie that we can think about that has a woman in the lead cast is of course Catwoman, Elektra, and something last year.
Those two are a big flop, right?
And of course, not forgetting last year as well, we had all-female cast of Ghostbusters, and that also didn't do very well apparently.
Alright. Okay, let's talk about the style of the movie, the cinematography. So for me, I think it is well-paced. The shooting, the style of like you mentioned to me previously, was a bit gloomy, following the style of
Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman.
All right, this shooting style like also resembles the 300. Yeah, there's a lot of slow motion.
At least the action sequence, right? The action sequence. There was a mix of 300 slow-mo sequence there.
Yeah, the zoom in. I mean the close-up shots of reflecting the bullets. I think that's pretty well done because basically you want to show how she reflects the bullets. Right?
Yeah, that is correct. I think the stylized of the movie, I think the heavy use of filter carried on somewhat from Batman vs Superman and Man of Steel. Even though this time around it is not as dark and as gloomy as before, at least this time around when you look at the Wonder Woman costume, you can actually see a little bit more colors compared to when she first appeared in Batman vs Superman.
Right. Then come to action scenes. I like most of the action scenes it has power. It portrays Wonder Woman very well, right? Remember the front line where
the No Man's Land. That is right. The No Man's Land sequence, the whole sequence was actually quite long, and I was actually quite happy to see the action sequence, right? I mean, that was where I think the whole audience in the cinema was actually very excited, gripping in their seats. It was not a short 1-2 minute action sequence, but it's almost about 10 minutes long.
Yes,
right?
that part leave you, like grabbing your hands on the seats. And I love the scene where the sniper.
Yes.
And it's like bam, the
okay,
whole building.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, sorry.
Right, but as what you said, the action sequence, I think Patty Jenkins did a very good job to bring to life of how us guys who has read the comic version of Wonder Woman. Finally, this is the Wonder Woman that we've been waiting for on the big screen.
She gave us more than just the comics,
Yeah.
So it's very well portrayed. Then come to the story part. I felt that the story was a bit draggy.
Yep.
It's actually quite long for the movie. But so for the story, a bit draggy. The draggy part that I felt is because there's a lot of explanation. The beginning of the movie explains very well about Wonder Woman when she was small and how she grew up with the training.
It's an origin story,
Yeah,
right? It's an origin
and
story.
beautifully CG of Themyscira. That is what we have not seen before in the comics actually.
Yeah, I think the cinematography in the movie to showcase the Themyscira, the landscapes, and even in the No Man's Land sequence, it was beautiful. But as you said, the screenplay, the story itself, this being an origin story, it was long. This movie is about 142 minutes long, right? Almost 2.5 hours long. But there was some sequence, as you rightly said, I think the on-screen time between Chris Pine and Gal Gadot trying to build up the story, the love relationship between them, I think that was a bit too much as well.
Yeah. So this movie is, apart from the seriousness, there's a little bit of light humor, but I think it couldn't carry that much into, maybe because of Gal Gadot is new actress,
Yeah.
and she didn't really portray that that kind of humor in the movie.
Yeah.
So.
I don't think Gal Gadot is known for her on-screen comedy timing. That's
But
for
I
sure.
love her fierce look when she was fighting.
Yeah, I mean, for Wonder Woman, they did try to copy some humor elements from the Marvel side as well.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think-
there were some fine humor moments, lah, right? Especially the part where she was well dressed as a lady, but she came out
Yeah.
from the shopping mall with armor and a sword.
That's all. That's the that's the only scene that you laugh a bit about it.
Yeah.
Okay,
No, no,
talking about Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman.
it's Gal Gadot.
Okay. So, what do you think about her?
Right. I mean, Gal Gadot obviously is not a seasoned actress. That we just need to get it out of the way. But having said that, I think for her being in an origin story, it really played to her strength, right? I mean, she couldn't really act that well, and especially when the scenes where you see her and Chris Pine together, you can see there's a big difference in terms of the acting skills from Chris
the
Pine.
chemistry doesn't mix that well, right?
Yeah. No, actually, I think the chemistry of Chris Pine and Gal Gadot on screen was pretty good, actually.
I would say that's because of Chris Pine.
Yeah, I would say that, yes, you're right, that's because of Chris Pine.
Yeah.
So-
For me, I mean, my friends has commented that she is a bit Caillou. I mean, it's just like a wood.
Yeah, that's
So
right. I think her expression, the facial expressions were leaves much to be desired, lah, I would say.
So she is only able to portray her fierceness very well.
Yeah. I mean, okay, now let's talk about how Wonder Woman completes the trilogy of, Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, and now it's Wonder Woman, and how it sets up for the kickstart of the DC universe.
I think this is a very different movie because like most of the other characters are all male characters, and this is the only female characters that has very different history or background origins itself that it can be done in one single movie. But for me, I think if you talk about the Flash, Cyborg, and to redo Green Lantern again, I think it's not necessary.
Yeah, that's right. But I think Wonder Woman caps off really well to kickstart Justice League of America that's coming up end of the year, I believe. So, Big Pete, what is your verdict?
My verdict for this movie, I quite like it, but because of the storyline wasn't that perfect, not solid enough for me. So the part that I didn't really like it is actually the ending. Here's a little bit spoiler. So it's actually fighting Ares, the god of war, in a huge scale manner, but it doesn't actually fit into the ending of that movie itself. I mean, you all will look at that, will watch that movie, and you will understand what I'm talking about. I like the whole Wonder Woman that Gal Gadot can portray, that she can portray the character very well. It's just like her acting part is lacking. So she just need a few more,
Acting classes.
acting classes and the sequel and stuff like that. Well, I give it a 3 out of 5.
That
What
is
about you?
interesting. I find the movie quite enjoyable. The action scenes were very well done, I never thought I'd be surprised to see myself enjoying a fight sequence of a superhero movie. having gone through so many Marvel movies, I actually got very tired of seeing all the superhero fights. But surprisingly, because Wonder Woman was in a World War One setting, the action sequence of Wonder Woman going into a gunfight with only a sword and a shield, I thought that was quite refreshing. That's for sure. And as you rightly put, the movie screenplay, right? It was a bit longer than needed. I would say the on-time screen between Gal Gadot and Chris Pine was a bit overplayed. I think we didn't need that much.
And the other characters were like just they didn't build up very well, so it's just like not memorable.
Yeah. All the other secondary characters they didn't really get much time, to be very frank. The only other secondary characters that actually got much airtime to build, some form of little bit of backstory are the Amazon woman of Themyscira in the beginning. But other than that, the movie itself we find that it was a bit too long. The movie score, as usual, I loved it. I loved the action sequence. I loved that this time around the use of filter was not too heavy, like Man of Steel or Batman vs Superman.
You can see how they fight very well in this shots.
I think the costumes, at least this time around, was they all look much better. Yeah. My only gripe was, if I need to nitpick, is if you look at the fight sequence, especially in World War One, every time they come up from the battle, you look at all the soldiers, their uniforms are all like just dry clean up, you're like super clean, super neat, all ironed up. After a better sequence.
And people said, how come Wonder Woman has no, dirt on her face and scratches and stuff like that? I mean, she's a goddess, right?
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning sequence, they actually showed that, how she was wounded during the war at the beach, but then the wound actually healed up the next day, right? So I would give it I wouldn't give it a 5 out of 5, but I would say it's quite close. I would say it's almost a 4 out of 5.
All right. So that's all for our review.
Yeah.
And the last thing is, don't stay for the end credits. That's none. Right?
Yeah, that was the one disappointment that I think me and Big B had. We were in the cinema, sitting there for 20 minutes, going through the amazing soundtrack at the end, but there was no
end credits.
There was no end credits.
Right.
So I was kind of hoping for some, some secret ending credits to lead to Justice League of America, but there was none.
All right.
Right. I think Wonder Woman sets up a very good tone for the Justice League franchise. I can't wait for James Wan's Aquaman, to be very frank.
Oh yes.
I have a very big expectation. My expectation has gone up by 10 notches, right?
Yeah, that's one interesting character that I would love to see.
An origin movie, right? This is an origin movie on its own. Okay, tell us what you think of the review, whether you like the movie or not, and whether you agree with our comments.
Right, goodbye.
Bye.